gotta be the true feeling when your wig's on tight. You gotta be the true feeling when your wig's on tight. And your house starts shaking with all its might. Well, you can find your
We're gonna talk about crushes. When I decided to do this episode, it got me thinking about a lot of ridiculous crushes that I've had, and I can assure you, I've had so many ridiculous crushes. I'm one of those people who can make a crush out of like a grain of sand. Just give me something and I will turn it into something that is not there and just make it something exciting to think about. I have a slew of crushes of people who've worked in the service industry or in anything where I get pleasure out of it. So I've had a ton of crushes on people who work at restaurants. I've had crushes I used to have a crush on a guy who worked at Blockbuster. I think the most ridiculous of those was that I had a crush on a guy when I was like 14 or 15 who worked at the movies. I think it was like Pavlov's dog. So I would go to the movies every Friday with my friends and he would tear my ticket and I would see him. And so I just developed this infatuation on him because I thought, movie ticket, I love movies, I go to the movies, I see him, I like him. Mind you, he was probably 30 years old. Our exchanges were pretty much just enjoy your movie. When I was 18, the year before I moved out to LA, I used to go to this cafe and there was a super cute guy who worked there. And so I developed this crush because that's what you do. That's what I do anyway. I go to a restaurant and I see a nice guy and he's doing his job by being nice to me and I'm like, I think I'm in love with you. So I used to go there and I kept saying, gosh, I can't keep getting this chicken salad. Like I don't have the money to every week get the salad. It's weird. The high point of our exchange was that one time, get this guys, he said, did you get your hair cut? And I said, yes. And he said, it looks really good. And you better believe I wrote that in my diary. He said he thought my haircut looked really good. That was the high point. I had this fantasy that I was going to convince him to move to LA with me. Mind you, we never said anything besides like, hey, how are you? Da 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 da. But, you know, in your head, you can take those fantasies anywhere you want, those crushes. And Lord knows I did. I did not end up moving to LA with him. He didn't even know that I liked him, I don't think. But I do remember seeing him like a little while later at a Michael Jackson cover band when I had a boyfriend, and I saw him and I thought, it really could have been something. It really could have been something. Without further ado, let's hear some embarrassing crush stories. We all have them.
A crush is probably first and foremost a really good diversion from reality. Obviously it's based in reality because you are crushing on hopefully a real life person, but I've always found crushes to be a really fun kind of mental holiday or playground for myself. Like, ooh, what would happen if this actually turned into a thing? My last crush was definitely my current boyfriend.
That worked out.
In high school, I was a freshman and I developed a crush on a sophomore. My dream was that we would be queen and king of the prom, or I would be on the cheerleading squad and he would be on the football team, and neither of us had that kind of, well, maybe he had that athletic ability, but I certainly wasn't on the cheerleading squad. We didn't even have a cheerleading squad in my high school. But I saw us as this potential power couple. In actuality, he really didn't know who I was at all. I tried to change that. I first met him because I saw him in a production. I fell for him. I was really happy to find out that we were going to have the same work-study type position in the fall. And with my mom's encouragement, I called him. So my mom said, well, he'd love to hear you loved him in the play, and he'd love to hear that you're going to be working with him next year. So I called him, and he was very polite, nice guy, and we had a strained but cordial conversation. When we did finally get it to work in the same room together, I was pretty starstruck to be so close to him. One of the humiliating moments that repeated itself like a reoccurring dream, and I just couldn't break the cycle, was every time he'd get up from this table that we'd work across, we were working in the archives, the school archives, every time he'd get up to leave, nice guy, you know, good rapport, he would go for like a handshake, like a high five handshake with me, but he would go so wide that every time I thought he was initiating a hug, and I was so desperate to be in his inner circle and to, make contact, that I would stand up invariably and like go for the hug. And he would totally humor me, but like every time, like, it was the handshake, not the hug. Like, lock it in, remember. But I never remembered, and over again, I would give these awkward hugs, and well, nothing ever came of that.
I was living in Austria doing a study abroad program, and there was this guy from another school who was there who I didn't know at all, and I thought he was dark and broody and mysterious because he was really quiet, and I thought he was probably like really deep and smart. And then I tried to make opportunities to be near him and whatever, and talk to him and walk home with him. And then I just remember one time I hung out with him and just realized like he was such a meathead, and there's just like nothing going on there. He was quiet because he was an idiot and not because he was actually like had so much going on. I was the quintessential either all of the guys I liked fell in love with my best friend, or I was the, go-to confidant. So I got to hear all about the crushes that they loved. This crush that a long, long time ago, he loved this cartoon. And so I memorized all the words to this song that's in this cartoon so that I could just sort of like casually start singing it while I was near him. That was ridiculous.
How'd that go over?
I think actually he was kind of impressed, actually. So yeah, it kind of worked, but we're not together, so there's that.
We are here with the lovely Jeff Coulter, who is kind enough to come and discuss crushes with us. So welcome, Jeff. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Jordana.
So Jeff, first starting out, what's your idea, what's your definition of a crush?
As I see it, a crush is someone you find so attractive you idolize them and find them almost unreachable.
I think we can all relate to that. Yeah, that you put them on a pedestal and you don't really know them and you project
your own desires.
Who is your latest crush?
It's-
Crush du jour.
My crush du jour, aujourd'hui, I don't know her name.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I see her around a bunch. I've seen her for years, actually, and she always gives this very pleasant smile, and I give a smile back, and that's what our relationship has been for years now.
Do you ever want to take it to the next level? I mean, that's pretty patient. You've been just smiling for years.
Yes, patience is a word for it. I don't know, of course I do, but there's a part of me that fears rejection. Therefore, it's safer to not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the right way to live necessarily.
I don't ever want to give people advice, but I would say maybe you should take that smile one step forward with that girl.
Maybe I will.
Or maybe just smiling at someone is the pleasure and is enough. That's the thing with crushes. Maybe they're better as a crush and not as
An actual human being.
maybe the idealization is better than the reality sometimes.
Yeah, I guess you have to find out. Maybe.
That's the thing.
But then you ruin the crush.
I know. I'm impatient, so I'd rather just get to it and be like, oh, you're a jerk? Okay, next. But then it ruins that, now I don't have that fun thing to keep me oh.
Yeah, well, you can just find another one.
We live in a very small town. What's the craziest thing you've ever done for a crush?
To get her attention. I guess the one thing I always used, I probably still do, is my sense of humor, and so I've always been a little off kilter. So this one time in high school math class, there was this girl that I really liked, and she never really spoke to me. She knew that I liked her, but she just kind of ignored me. And desperate to be liked by her, I had a power drill with me, and I brought it to class.
Where is this going?
And I was in the front of the class, and I took the desk apart when the teacher's back was turned, and then flipped the desk around and put it back, and then drilled it back together, and then ended up sitting under my desk.
Are you a hero in an 80s John Cusack movie? What? You unscrewed a table, a desk,
Yes.
to impress a girl.
Which didn't work, obviously.
Do you mean unscrewing desks don't get ladies' attention?
Apparently. The proof is in the pudding. Yeah.
So what happened?
No, not much. I left the desk upside down with a pencil holder at the bottom of the desk, and she still didn't care about me.
You know what? I think that was like a surefire plan
Yeah,
to get a girl.
I
And
thought
the fact
so.
that you did that and didn't get anything for it.
Yeah. So
Not the right girl, clearly.
last time that I flipped a desk around in a high school math class, I guess I was trying to show a rebellious side of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebellion can be sexy, but clearly she wasn't picking up on it.
No.
That's okay. She's probably miserable to this day
I
because
doubt
she didn't take your love. I think middle school and high school crushes, crushes aren't the same once you get out of school, I think. There's something about a crush at school
Yeah.
that's just like, oh. Because when you get older, it's like the dynamics are different,
Mhm.
so other things come into play. Do you have any advice for people who have a crush on someone?
Without sounding like a hypocrite, I would say go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I need to give some advice to myself instead.
I would say go for it too, because
Yeah.
life is short and
Right.
you never know. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.